Welcome back, Patriots, for another special episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we're checking out today's White House press briefing. They are actually early. The press briefing was supposed to start at 10:30. It is, 10:36. Well, they started about 30 minutes ago. We're catching it live right now, folks. Couldn't be more than happy to have you join us. If you are, and you think we deserve your subscription, hit that subscribe button, but also support us by hitting that like button as well. Let's roll it. So we got Jackie Heinrich, we got Peter Alexander in the room. We also have ABC, which we don't really like right now because of the way they treated Donald Trump yesterday. We also have Ed, the bald guy. He's usually with Fox Business answering, or rather asking questions about the economy. They're all seated. I would imagine they're going to be talking about the hostage prisoner swap release that took place today with Whelan, as well as a Wall Street Journal reporter. Good to have you folks with us. I see you all in the live chat. It's great to be back with you. If you didn't catch our morning show, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, folks. And here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So, it's a historic and important day. President Biden and his administration have secured a deal for Americans who were unjustly imprisoned in Russia. I know for a lot of reporters in this room, especially Wall Street Journal team, this is personal. And I know for the families of Paul, Evan, Alsu, and Vladimir, it's one of the best days of their lives. As President Biden said in his statement, as we celebrate the return of these brave Americans, we remember all those still wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world, and reaffirm our pledge to their families. We see you, we are with you, and we will never stop working to bring your loved ones home where they belong. And with that, I will turn it over to our National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan.
Thank you, Karine, and good afternoon, everyone. Today, as you've seen and heard from the President and from Karine, we've completed one of the largest and certainly the most complex exchange in history. And Paul Whelan, Evan Gershkovich, Alsu Kurmasheva, and Vladimir Kara-Murza, 3 American citizens and 1 American green card holder, are finally coming home. Thank you, Karine. I had the honor and pleasure of joining the President this morning in the Oval Office as he shared the wonderful news with the families. And then together, they spoke with Paul, Evan, Alsu, and Vladimir, who were on the tarmac in Ankara with U.S. officials where the exchange happened. To say that everyone in the room was overjoyed, even at a loss for words, is an understatement. Since taking office, President Biden and Vice President Harris have made clear that they will not stop working until every American wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world is reunited with their family. As an administration, we're proud to celebrate the return home of over 70 such Americans from places around the world like Afghanistan, Burma, Gaza, Haiti, Iran, Russia, Venezuela, Rwanda, and elsewhere. Today's exchange is a feat of diplomacy that honestly could only be achieved by a leader like Joe Biden. At his direction, the professionals in our national security, foreign policy, and intelligence community worked tirelessly and relentlessly to secure the release of 16 individuals who were detained in Russia. The 3 American citizens, 1 American green card holder, 5 German citizens, and 7 Russian political prisoners in exchange for 8 individuals held in a combination of the United States, Germany, Norway, Slovenia, and Poland. The President was himself personally engaged in the diplomacy that brought this about, including multiple conversations with Chancellor Scholz, with the other leaders of the countries who provided some of the Russians as part of the exchange, and most recently, as has now been reported, calling the Prime Minister of Slovenia early in the afternoon of Sunday, July 21st, to coordinate the final arrangements to make the final piece of this deal fall into place. There is no more singular or concrete demonstration that the alliances that the President has reinvigorated around the world matter to Americans, to the individual safety of Americans, and to the collective security of Americans.
Good question.
And we're deeply grateful to our allies who supported us in these complex negotiations to achieve this outcome. And while I'm standing at this podium, the President is reaching out to give personal thanks to the leaders of Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey. And honestly, guys, I can just say this was vintage Joe Biden, rallying American allies to save American citizens and Russian freedom fighters, and doing it with intricate statecraft, pulling his whole team together to drive this across the finish line. His goal has always been to put the families first, the families who are enduring an unimaginable ordeal. From the president on down, we've stayed in regular and routine touch with them. I spent a lot of time with the families of Evan and Paul and Alsu. And most of the time, as you can imagine, those are tough conversations. But not today. Today, excuse me. Today was a very good day. And we're going to build on it, drawing inspiration and continued courage from it for all of those who are held hostage or wrongfully detained around the world. And that includes Mark Fogel, who we are actively working
Thank you, Ziggy, for the
to
follow.
get his release from Russia as well. And there are others being held in Syria, Afghanistan, other countries around the world who we are working to get released. And just on a personal note, I want to say that this is the culmination of a monumental level of effort and level of skill by my teammates across the national security enterprise. My colleagues here at the NSC, my colleagues at the Central Intelligence Agency, my colleagues at the State Department. These are dedicated, talented professionals who are not in the headlines, who don't get to stand at a podium like this one. And it was at the president's direction that they built and pulled off the most intricate, expansive deal of its kind in memory. So they know who they are. I salute them. And every American should be proud to have those kind of people standing up on their behalf and on behalf of American security. While this has unfolded, we've been closely monitoring the events in the Middle East as well. Since October 7th, we have worked to deter and prevent escalation into a wider regional war. That risk has always been there. That risk is there now. And we are determined to engage in deterrence, defense, and de-escalation to try to ensure that we do not
Thank you,
have
Ziggy,
a
for the
wider,
$10.
regional
Voices
conflict
matter.
or
Thank you for
escalation
yours.
that goes unchecked.
Thanks for the
So
follow,
I'm
and thank
happy
you
to
for
get
joining us.
more
That's
into
really
that in
nice of you to
response to your
offer
questions, and with
a
that,
donation of
I'll
$10.
turn
It
it
means a
over
lot
to
here.
you.
You're keeping the
Yeah.
lights on. True
Thanks,
American
Jake.
patriot. Thank you
Whose
so much.
idea was it to try
Join us
to
for our
go
podcast at
big
7 in the
and
morning.
bring everyone home at once instead of going for a simpler one-for-one type deal, and why?
That's a great question, which I don't feel entirely comfortable answering because this was an organic process involving a lot of people across our government. But what I will say is this. The president sat us down on a regular basis over the course of the detentions of Paul, Evan, and Alsu, and really pushed us to think about what configuration would actually work to make this happen. And it was through an iterative process of back and forth with various of the allies I mentioned, with engagements with our Russian counterparts, where we were making proposals,
Lisa, Joni
getting
Navarro,
responses,
Brad, Army,
that this
thank
all
you
came
so
together.
much.
And so
Love that
I would
badge
say
next to your
that
name,
if you
Lisa.
had
Looks
not
good.
had Joe Biden sitting in
you.
the Oval Office, I don't think this would have happened. But as I said in my remarks, there were a lot of other people who played a central role in building out the pieces of this and then executing on that. And the execution phase of this, to get this level of coordination together, to have those planes all land on the tarmac at the same time from multiple different countries with so many different individuals
Give us
coming from Russia and
specifics.
going back
What'd
to
we give
Russia.
up?
Really
Was it
extraordinary.
billions of dollars?
And I think, team effort can be a cliche, but I
we
think
give
in
up
this
terrorists?
case it's a warranted description of what happened.
And was Alexei Navalny supposed to be a part of this deal before he died in prison?
So we had been working with our partners on a deal that would have included Alexei Navalny. And unfortunately, he died. In fact, on the very day that he died, I saw Evan's parents, and I told them that the president was determined to get this done, even in light of that tragic news, and that we were going to work day and night to get to this day. And so that work continued over the course of the past few months and culminated in today. Yeah.
You've mentioned it a little bit, but can you describe and give us a little bit more color on that Oval Office conversation just before the president came out? Did all four Americans get to speak? Did each of the family members get to speak to their loved ones? Did the president tear up? Did you tear up?
I saved my tearing up for this podium. Which, I would like to strike that from the record if we can. I don't know if that's permitted. Probably not. So the president invited the family members in at the moment that we received the word from the tarmac in Ankara that the exchange was complete. And he was able to give them the news directly that the exchange was in fact complete. Then Paul, Evan, and Alsu
you got a lot of friends here, Ziggy.
Place. Vladimir was
a
actually
lot
in
of
another
friends in
place.
the
So he
Bald Brad
conducted
Army. Love
two
to have you.
calls from the Oval Office. One with the 3 American citizens on the phone, and he welcomed their freedom, said, that on behalf of the American people, he was so proud to have them out, and then very quickly turned the phone over to their family members, and each family got the opportunity to engage by phone with their loved one who was out. He then conducted a second call with Vladimir, and Vladimir's wife, one of their daughters, and their son were there to be able to speak with him. And the president and he also got to reminisce on the fact that they were both pallbearers together at John McCain's John McCain's funeral. And so it was a kind of extraordinary personal exchange in the Oval Office. And the family members were both overwhelmed, of course, by the events of the day and also standing there in the presence of the U.S. president at the Resolute desk. So it was quite a moment.
And can you talk about how the administration tries to make sure this doesn't incentivize more arrests of innocent Americans beyond what the president said, advising people not to go abroad in certain places, especially because you're looking at this inherent imbalance between releasing or between securing the release of innocent Americans in exchange for rightfully convicted criminals, including a murder?
Look, it's a fair question. It's a question that we grapple with every time that we look at the hard decisions involved in one of these exchanges. It is difficult to send back a convicted criminal to secure the release of an innocent American. And yet, sometimes the choice is between doing that and consigning that person basically to live out their days in prison in a hostile foreign country or in the hands of a hostile power. So from our perspective, we have assessed and analyzed that risk, and we have judged that the benefit of reuniting Americans, of bringing people home, and also of vindicating the idea that the American president and the American government are going to do what it takes to protect and secure the release of innocent Americans, that benefit outweighs the risk, and that's how we have proceeded. I would point out, in addition to that in periods of time when the U.S. government didn't tend to do
that's what we're trying to
prisoner
figure out,
exchanges,
Ziggy. We don't know.
Americans were
we talked about that in our
unjustly
podcast
detained and held
episode,
hostage overseas.
the morning show.
In periods where we did, Americans were unjustly detained and held hostage overseas. So I think there are real questions, and Roger Carstens, the hostage negotiator at the State Department, has actually pointed out that in this analysis, it is not quite as clear-cut that the evidence actually demonstrates the kind of result that your question speaks to, that a lot more people get taken because we do these exchanges. But it's something that we have to pay attention to, and it's something that makes these decisions by the president not simple decisions, hard decisions, and yet, as he did today, he was prepared to make them. Yeah.
Can you explain a bit more, when did it become clear that Krasikov was this linchpin to a deal like this, and was it during the negotiations over Brittany Griner?
When you're engaged in a negotiation and one side lays down a position, there's not like a light bulb moment when you say, okay, that position is immovable. That has to be tested, and alternatives have to be suggested, and proposals get put on the table.
Why are the press not asking specifics?
New proposals
what did we give
rejected.
Up?
So it is less of a aha moment, okay, now we know, and it's more something that you accumulate through the experience of the negotiation. And so over the course of this negotiation, we did reach the conclusion that Krasikov was a key.
You've discussed, obviously, the president's involvement, direct involvement in all of this. Can you talk us through any involvement that the vice president had? Was she also speaking directly to other leaders and allies?
So as I said in my opening comments, both President Biden and Vice President Harris have made the return of unjustly detained Americans American hostages an absolute priority. And in this particular case, Vice President Harris actually had an opportunity to engage with Chancellor Scholz earlier this year at an opportune and timely moment at the Munich Security Conference, where she talked about this issue with him. That followed on a conversation that the president had just a short time before that, and it was in the run of high-level engagements and a back and forth that the president and the chancellor were having that Vice President Harris was actually able to sit face-to-face with Chancellor Scholz and talk through the elements of this. And then I've sat in the Oval Office more times than I can count over the course of the past years, providing briefings and updates on this and getting peppered with questions by both the president and the vice president, thinking through the strategy, iterating the approach, which she was a participant in very much, a core member of the team that helped make this happen.
Jay,
Yeah.
two quick questions. One as it relates to the president's interactions with Chancellor Scholz. It's been detailed to us, but maybe from the podium, you could help us understand. Chancellor Scholz had to make a big sacrifice, giving up Krasikov here, a Russian criminal. What specifically did the German chancellor say to President Biden about his willingness to do this?
Well, I will leave that to Chancellor Scholz because I think for
course.
important and sensitive conversations, leaders should speak for themselves.
The White House said, he said, for you, and then he said, I will do this. Is that fair? And if so, can you at least detail that?
I can confirm that he did say that, but I thought you were asking sort of to elaborate in greater detail, which I'm afraid I don't feel comfortable doing because he can speak to his conversations with the president. What I will say, and President Biden made this point.
It's amazing
when
you don't get any information
he spoke
from
to
this
the press just a
administration.
short time ago. That relationship between the president and the chancellor, a relationship of respect, a relationship of genuine friendship, had the character of being able to work through this sensitive issue in a way that wasn't antiseptic or professional. It was two guys actually trying to figure out a solution. That was the nature of all of the conversations, and ultimately the chancellor was able to say to the president, let's do this.
Just to be clear, my second question, today is clearly a day of celebration, but already there is some criticism, including from the Republican vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, who moments ago said, I think what this demonstrates, I think that really what this shows is that a lot of bad guys across the world are worried that Donald Trump is coming back into office. Your response to those comments?
I don't follow. Yeah.
Of course you don't. You're an idiot.
Can you talk about what, if any, engagement U.S. officials had with Vladimir Putin as part of this?
No engagement directly with Vladimir Putin.
What about his deputies?
There was extensive engagement with Russian officials over the course of this. I'm not going to get into the details because those channels are sensitive and need to be protected
never get into
for
the
exactly
details.
this reason. Because having those sensitive channels
Doesn't
enables us to
follow.
produce results like
And then
today.
last week in the Oval
German
Office,
chancellor
President
could
Biden
speak
said
for
that
himself.
he remains committed to bringing Americans home during his final 6 months in office. How important was it for him to get this deal before leaving office?
Honestly, I don't think he was thinking about it like, I got to get it before I leave office. He was thinking about
Yeah,
it from the
right.
family's perspective, which is every day is a lost day. So
Come
I want to do this
on.
as rapidly as humanly possible.
We all know why you guys did
I
it
want to push
now.
the pace on
There's
it
an election
because
coming up in
the
97
longer
days.
that these Americans are held abroad, the greater the risk and the greater the pain. So for him, it was really important to do the deal, but less tied to his time in office and more tied to the power and
Sideshow Bob's
responsibility
coming
he
up
had
after,
and
Jason.
wanted to exercise to get this done as
You've
fast
not
as
missed
he possibly
Sideshow
could.
Bob. She's
I
still
just
there.
want to follow up on this interaction with the Russians. I mean, does this in any way lay any groundwork for discussions about the war in Ukraine with the Ukrainians? I mean, just to sort of say, look, we've cooperated on this. Is there any path that this creates any sort of goodwill in terms of, creating more discussions?
We do not see a link between the hostage negotiation or the detained persons negotiations and any potential diplomacy over the war in Ukraine. We see those as operating on separate tracks. One is really about the practical issue of producing this exchange. The other is a much
Pat,
more
you're
complex
on time, dude. You're not
question,
too far behind.
where the Ukrainians will be in the lead, and the United States will consult closely
Should
with
do a
all of our
countdown to the
allies to
election?
support
Okay,
them
do that.
when they are prepared to step forward and engage in those in that kind of diplomacy.
Can I just follow up on, so we can't have you here and not ask you about what's happening and unfolding in the Middle East and with Iran and with this, the killing of Haniyeh. Can you please just give us your assessment of how high the temperature really is and how great the risks are now of an all-out war or a bigger war?
This is 95
Just taking
days.
a step back, we have been laser focused on trying to prevent that wider war since October 7th. There have been moments that have required intensive effort to keep a lid on things. The risk has always been there, and the risk remains today. And we believe we do have to be engaging in intensive efforts now through deterrence,
So the
through
only
de-escalation,
person that's
through
answered a
diplomacy,
good or asked a good
to
question was
prevent a
Peter
wider
Alexander
war,
about
and we will continue
specifics,
to do that.
which we didn't get.
Jake, back in May, former President Trump made the comment that Russia would release Evan Gershkovich for him after the upcoming election, quote, but not for anyone else. Did that comment complicate negotiations at all, and do you have a response to Trump's comment now?
Look, I'm just happy these guys are out and home, and I won't wade into the comments of the former president.
What about Jimmy Wilgus? Are you working on him?
Yeah.
Jake, you noted that the president spoke to the leader of Slovenia right around the time he was making his decision on his political future. How much was the thinking that he had to go through on his future part of this process leading up to these negotiations? Was this something that weighed on him for days ahead of these calls?
Look, to be honest with you, the way in which this unfolded played out over the course of weeks, even months, to put all of the pieces in place. So,
like I said, the timing's
the
suspicious.
timing and the cadence of the different
Pat, I
elements
see you in there,
coming
brother.
together
Thanks
was
for being over at
a
Rumble.
feature of the diplomacy and the decision-making of each of the countries involved. It wasn't about American politics, the American political calendar, president's thinking on other issues. And it did happen to line up on that Sunday in that way, but not through a conscious decision to make it so, but rather because that's when the pieces were falling into place. And that's the moment when the president had to drop that final piece in. And it just so
What was
happened to
that
come
piece?
a couple of hours before he made his announcement.
What's the
Do you think
detail?
we will actually see them on American soil? Will the president greet them in person?
I think you can expect to see Evan, Paul, and Alsu
Exactly,
later
Robert.
tonight
What was the
on American
negotiation?
soil. As the president mentioned in his remarks earlier, they'll be landing at Andrews Air Force Base. The president and the vice president will be out there to greet them. Vladimir Kara-Murza
need their
is
photo
going
op.
to be traveling to Germany, and his family, who was here with the president this morning, will be traveling there to join him. But as Vladimir and the president discussed today, we expect him back here in the United States soon for him to be able to see the president and other people in the U.S. government. Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. Switching gears for a moment, I want to ask you about the plea deal that was reached with 9/11 suspects by military courts down in Guantanamo. Republicans are condemning this as showing weakness and calling it a sweetheart deal because it avoids a trial and the death penalty. I was wondering if the administration has any response to that.
As we said last night, the White House received word that the convening authority had entered these pretrial agreements that had been negotiated by military prosecutors with KSM and some of the other 9/11 defendants. And we had no role in that process. The president had no role. The vice president had no role. I had no role. The White House had no role. And we were informed yesterday, the same day, that they
we
went
didn't
out
know
publicly
shit.
that this pretrial agreement had been accepted by the convening authority. What the president did upon learning of that was direct his team to consult as appropriate with officials and lawyers at the Department of Defense on this matter. Those consultations are ongoing, and I have nothing more to add at this time.
And one more thing on Iran, Israel, Hamas negotiations. Now that the lead Hamas negotiator is dead, who is there to negotiate with, and why, in your estimation, would Hamas continue towards negotiating a ceasefire deal when their lead negotiator was just killed by the people they're negotiating with?
It is too soon to tell what the impact of his death will have on the negotiations, and so I'm not going to speculate on that, especially in light of the broader dynamics and set of events unfolding in the region right now. What I will say is this: The ceasefire and hostage deal is the pathway to ending this war. It is the pathway to getting all of the hostages home, including the American citizen hostages who are relentlessly focused on getting home, and we remain determined to get it done. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. We got
Did the
95
president have a call
days.
today with Prime Minister Netanyahu, or is he having one?
I believe the Israeli government has put out that they're having a call. We had not announced that yet, but in fact, the president is intending to speak with Prime Minister Netanyahu later today. They have not spoken yet. Yeah.
And is the president going to express
What's going on,
any
Shib?
displeasure about not having a heads up about the attack on the Hamas leader, or these other big things that have happened in the last few days with Israel taking countermeasures?
So I'm not going to preview the president's message before he has a chance to speak directly to the prime minister. And then if I had to predict, I probably will be tight-lipped about the readout afterward. Yeah.
Thanks, Jake. Just wondered if you could make clear for us, when was the actual moment when you really knew that this deal was going to be done and that it was sealed, or was that not really until today and you actually saw them, the released people on the tarmac in Ankara?
We
Knuckles, that is
steadily
correct.
gained
Absolutely,
confidence
sir.
following
Yeah.
the president's call on the 21st of July. But that confidence was always tempered by the reality that this was
Oh, yeah,
a fragile
Joe's
deal,
sleeping.
a complex deal that
Joe's
could fall
sleepy
apart
eepy.
at any moment from multiple different directions. So we held our breath and crossed our fingers until just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, sure you did.
Yeah.
Jake, I wanted to ask about arms control treaties. It seems like Russia's been backsliding. Deals. What is the update with that? Is there any progress with getting them to rejoin any of these treaties?
No. The short answer is there is no progress.
Where do they
We
get
have
these
tried to
questions
engage,
from?
and I have publicly stated, and my colleagues have also laid out our view that there is an arms control agenda that's in the interests of the security of the United States, our allies, and frankly, global stability. And we have not seen reciprocity on the Russian side to engage in those discussions at this time. So we're obviously working very closely with NATO, with our other allies and partners, to ensure that our security is going to be strong, resilient, and credible no matter what comes next. But we do remain available to engage in arms control, as we did with the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War. Last question. Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. Can you just confirm that no money was exchanged,
Here we
no
go.
sanctions were loosened to facilitate this deal?
Yes, I can confirm that.
And can you also speak to why the president chose not to use his moment in front of the cameras to deliver a warning to Putin? He said, I don't need to speak to Putin, but what he didn't convey was a price that countries will pay if they abduct Americans for political purposes.
We have made clear through every conceivable channel, and the president has made clear publicly on repeated occasions over the last 2 years about the costs and consequences of aggression, of standing against United States interests, and of taking actions that we believe are unlawful.
Can you give
and unjust.
examples?
We're going to continue to do that as we
What
go
are the
forward.
examples?
For the president today, this was a moment to thank
Susie's
our
not here,
allies.
Lulu.
It was a moment to celebrate the families, and most importantly, it was a moment to lift up the human achievement of getting both Americans,
so no money for sure,
citizens of friendly countries,
So we gave up
and
people.
Russian political prisoners.
Who are
out.
the people?
But as the president said, he doesn't need to talk to Putin for Putin to understand where the president
U.S.
stands.
may have not
Thank you.
given us
What about
money.
Jimmy
Sure.
Wilgus? He's been there 8 years, Jake.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you.
8 years.
All right.
Oh, God, here we
As,
go.
as I mentioned at the top, this is an incredibly important day, monumentous day, and also an emotional day for the families, obviously, for the incredible team that I get to work with every day.
You might be right, Ziggy.
National security team.
You might be right.
And across the administration and for this president. And so it's a good day. It's a really, really good day. And we should be really proud of what this administration has been able to do. Now these, these folks who are unjustly held now get to go home to their families and see their families and restart their lives. Okay.
And a follow-up on the 9/11 plea deal, if I may.
There we go.
Does the president still plan to close Guantanamo Bay Prison before he leaves office? And is there a realistic pathway?
Why would
to
you do
in the
that?
next 6 months?
That's still something that the president wants to do and get done. As far as a timeline, don't have anything for you here, but obviously this is something that he wanted to be done under his administration. Just don't have anything else to read out or preview at this time, but it is something that he's determined to do.
Of course he is.
And does he have a message to some of the 9/11 families who wanted to see a full trial, who wanted to see this kind of come to a fuller process?
So look, this is basically what Jake said. This is something that we had no involvement in. He didn't have any involvement
don't believe it.
And so the White House played no role in this process. And the president directed his team to consult as appropriate with officials and lawyers and Department of Defense, obviously.
Find it hard to believe.
You know, we have said this before. You know, we are. You know, our hearts go out to the families who lost their loved ones on that,
look at the camera.
day.
You notice that?
And you know, the president of 9/11 has honored them every year, and the
Can't
families
look at people in the face.
who lost their loved one on that terrible day. And we remain committed. This administration remained committed to ensuring that the military commission process is fair and delivers justice to the victims, survivors, families, and those accused of crimes. And so that is certainly the president's continued commitment here.
Deplorable me, that is correct.
Donald
me too.
Trump yesterday attacked
They're actually early
Kamala
today.
Harris's identity, said he didn't know she was black. You reacted to that yesterday, but I'm wondering if the president is aware of those comments.
The president's aware. I think he, just like myself and what I stated here and what the vice president stated as well. You know, I'll just reiterate what I said. It was repulsive, disrespectful, and insulting. And we believe, and you know, obviously,
it's not insulting to the Indian Americans that
more broadly,
you know, she basically gave the middle finger to, huh?
Deserve better. They deserve better. And real leaders do not tear people down. They don't question someone's identity.
Joe Biden literally said,
it's just,
if you don't know if you're going to vote for me or him, then you ain't black. Biden literally said that.
You know, it couldn't be more inappropriate. And he also believes that the American people deserve better. He deserves better. You have a president who has spent the last 4 years and more talking about unity, talking about respecting each other, talking about bringing people together. That's what this president believes. And you see that in any policy that he talks about, right? Whether it's the economy, healthcare, make sure that we respect each other, dignity. That is what the president is about. I'll leave it there. Check.
Thank you, Karine. Just hoping for a response to the 9/11 plea deal that spared the architects the death penalty. The New York City Firefighters Union put out a statement. It said, "We are disgusted and disappointed that these 3 terrorists were given a plea deal and allowed to escape the ultimate justice, while each month 3 more heroes from the FDNY are dying from World Trade Center illnesses." Does the administration have a message for them?
Look, our hearts go out. I mean, not much more than I can add to what you heard from the National Security Advisor and how I just answered the question to one of your colleagues. And I'll just
slap
reiterate,
the Indian
obviously
culture.
Our hearts go out to the families who lost a loved one. We didn't have a role in this. This was not something that we were involved in. And so we are determined to make sure that they get justice, these families get justice. I just don't have anything else to add to what the National Security Advisor just stated from here moments ago.
And then on the Vice President's presence tonight, is she going to be around for any of the evening when we expect the detainees to come back to the U.S.? Is she going to be part of this?
Again, Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, just literally confirmed that she would be part of this when they land tonight at JBA, and so the president and the vice president will be there to greet them. So you just heard.
So the top one is from 2016. The bottom one's from yesterday.
It sounded like he almost took a swipe at the vice president, said that if Joe Biden wasn't in the Oval Office, I don't think this would have happened. Was that a swipe at her relative inexperience or some sort of...
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're partners in this. Joe Biden and the vice president are partners in this. You heard him say that the vice president played a critical role in this diplomacy at a number of key moments. She met with the chancellor of Germany in Munich to help pave the way. She also met with the prime minister of Slovenia to help bring them into the negotiations. They were partners in this. And then you'll see her tonight join the president to welcome back those Americans who were unjustly
It's weird because
imprisoned
she's
in Russia.
never in photo ops, you guys.
And
she
that
never
is gonna
shows up
be
to places. So
an
it's weird how all of a
important
sudden
moment,
she's going to be there with the
critical moment, but
president.
They worked together on this.
All
And
of
I
a
think
sudden, she shows up
with
after
Jake,
4 years.
Not to
Amazing.
say what he was saying, but he was very
Remarkable.
clear. This is a president that has had a long history in government, more than 50 years as a senator, as a vice president.
And hasn't done shit.
And now as president.
Yep.
It is because of his understanding of the world and the relationships with these leaders that he has had. He's been able to build back up our partnership with allies, right, and also partners. But let's not be very clear here. The vice president has been a partner in this. I just listed out how critical of a role that she played in key moments.
No,
very,
she
very
didn't.
recently.
Come
So,
on,
they're
Karine,
partners,
stop
and I
it.
think that is what we want to make sure that is very, very clear to all of you. Okay.
Yeah, it's not
I mean,
clear.
was there ever any consideration given to asking the vice president to, come back sooner so she could be part of the announcement today?
There you go.
No, I'm sorry. You should finish. You should finish your question.
Well, no, I was just going to ask. I mean, if there was, just for the atmospherics or the kind of visual impact of
There
having
you
her
go.
there with the families.
Well, just
today.
to reiterate, she played really a
No, she
key
didn't.
a
No,
key
she didn't.
role here, a critical role during some key moments, as I just listed out. But I will remind you that she was at a funeral in Houston this morning. She was speaking at a funeral for the late Congresswoman there in Texas. And that was also,
How about going to the funeral, all the Americans that died
when you're
from illegal
president
immigrant?
and
Why don't
even
you go to
vice
those
president,
funerals?
You play multiple roles here. And so she'll be coming back today, if she's not back already, and she'll be joining the president and the families as they get to welcome their loved one back from after being unjustly imprisoned in Russia.
I just have one more question about the 9/11 plea deal. Can you say from where you sit now whether you think the death penalty would have been an appropriate end, or is that a sort of a matter of principle for you, for the people at the White House, and for President Biden in particular?
As you know, the president's been always very clear about the death penalty. I don't have anything else to add. This is something that we learned about yesterday. This is something that the convening authority for military commissions made, an independent decision. They made an independent decision. We were not involved. I don't want to get into like specifics on this because we're just not involved at all in this process. And so I'll just be careful here and just leave it there.
Did the president or anyone in the administration speak to the family of Mark Vogel today, to your knowledge?
That's a good question. I don't have anything to read out about a particular conversation with the family of Mark Vogel. As you know, our team here have been in regular touch of many of the families who have loved ones who have been detained. I don't have anything at this time to read out with Mark Vogel specifically, but we are continue to be committed. You heard Jake speak to this at the top when he was delivering his remarks to getting Americans home. With
Margie.
each of these exchanges,
Oh
it is
my
our goal to
God.
secure release of as many as Americans as we can. That is the goal every time we get into these negotiations, and we're always very careful. We do not do these in public, obviously, and at every step in this process, starting all the way back when we sought the release of
Exactly,
Paul
Jennifer.
Whelan and
Yep.
Brittany Griner, we also sought to release Mark Vogel as well, as you heard from Jake Sullivan. We are actively continuing to do so and are engaged in active discussion on how we can get to that, how we can get to a path to get him home. Don't have anything to read out on a recent conversation with their family.
On a
with
separate
his family.
topic, the Federal Reserve yesterday signaled that it could cut interest rates for the first time since the pandemic. Does the White House believe that's a good idea?
Not going to comment on any monetary policy decisions or potential decisions by the Federal Reserve. They are independent. We respect that, and so I'm not going to comment on that. Okay.
Just to circle back, Jake did make the point that he believed that this wouldn't have happened if the president wasn't the one in the Oval negotiating So can you tell us a little bit more about how he's thinking about this very clear work to seal up his legacy, and balancing that with having to support the vice president, campaign for her even, and see her as a and treat her as a partner in a subject where he clearly has, a lot more experience?
I'm not denying that Jake said that. Obviously, I'm
reveal some of his thinking about how he's got to balance this.
I think you have to look at this in separate pieces.
Do you see how the reporters are treating her compared to how the reporters treated Donald Trump yesterday? Do you guys see the huge difference between the two?
And I think that's important to know.
Crazy.
To note. And he's had relationships with many of these leaders that are currently, out there in this present time, in present day. What I also want to state is that the vice president has been vice president for 3.5 years. She has been part,
and she's
of
done
this
a
administration,
terrible job.
Obviously, not just part of it, but a partner. And has developed her own relationship.
She's been involved since the beginning, you guys.
With our allies and partners, and I think that's important to note. She was part in having conversations with the Chancellor of Germany, for example, in starting to get us on a path for what we're seeing today. And so, obviously, we feel that she's, immensely qualified. That's why the president endorsed her. That's why she is. Certainly a partner to him, but also is doing her part in the next, being careful here, in the next 4 months. So I'll leave it there. But look, they are partners. They talk regularly. I think I would say they've learned from each other, right, with this partnership over the 3.5 years. But this is also a vice president who's been a senator, who's been an attorney general, again, a vice president for almost 4 years.
She destroyed the state of California.
In conversation,
Don't CA the USA,
important
folks.
Conversations that matter to the American people pretty regularly with the president, having her by the president's side. And I think that matters. And that's important.
I think that matters.
Karine, can you tell us about the condition of Evan, Paul, Alsu, and Vladimir? How is their health, and did that come up when they had those phone calls in your office?
I'm not going to get into details or into specifics or speak about their health. Obviously, they will be landing here in short order in a couple of hours.
Steph, thank you for the follow over at Rumble. Thank you.
You'll see them for
us.
yourselves, but I'm not going to speak to their health from here, not from this podium.
Described that they've gone through a lot. Did they
have?
talk to?
They were imprisoned.
Yeah,
unjustly so.
Did they talk about that in their phone call at the Oval Office?
I'm not going to get into further details to what the National Security Advisor shared here today. I'm pretty sure that when the time permits, they will. I'm sure at some point, if they wish to, they'll speak for themselves.
Yeah, thanks, Karine. So Germany got 12 citizens back on this. Were they negotiating with the Russians, and was this two negotiations that merged, or did this generate out of the U.S., talking about the U.S. Prisoners?
Look, I think we've laid out in pretty detail on how this occurred. Obviously,
no, you haven't.
The U.S. played a leading role in this, and we are certainly
we don't know anything.
Very grateful to our allies that worked with us on this. Obviously, I talked about Germany.
Yeah, what did the Germans give up, huh?
And so I don't have anything beyond what we've already shared with you on this.
Of course you don't.
I don't want to get into specifics or details. We have already shared
go.
how this came about.
No, you didn't.
This is an important day.
This is an important
day. And truly, as I've been asked a couple times, because of this president's leadership, we have been able to get this done. We have been able to get home about 70 Americans who were unjustly imprisoned and held in the last 3.5 years. That's because this president has shown his commitment, and the vice president has shown their commitment on doing that. And I think it sends, today and many other days that we've been able to get this done, it sends a message to the American people that we will put them first, always, as it relates to foreign policy, national security, making sure that we are getting Americans home.
Oh, they're going to put Americans first.
Are there going to be any events here at the White House with the prisoners, the American prisoners who are coming back? I know we're going to Andrews.
No, I hear you. I can't speak to anything this evening. I mean, obviously they're going to be landing here this evening, and they're going to, my guess is, they're going to want to see their families, hold their families, hug their families. It's been a long journey for them, not just getting home, but these past couple of years. And that is my guess, is that's what they're going to want to do. This is an emotional day. This is an emotional day. And it's a good day. We should be really, really proud of what this administration has been able to do. And don't have anything beyond that. Yeah, Garen.
Yes, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee is being laid to rest today in Houston, and one of her signature bills in Congress was H.R. 40, which, as you know, would create a commission to study the issue of reparations for African Americans. She took up that mantle from Congressman, the late John Conyers, and after more than 30 years of this bill being introduced, Congress has yet to be able to pass this bill. And as a result, Congresswoman Jackson-Lee, when she was still alive, she urged, along with advocates for President Biden, to take executive action. Though the White House has repeatedly said that the president's position is that it should happen through Congress, I do wonder, given with only 6 months left of his administration, and to honor her legacy, whether the president is more amenable to taking executive action, especially given the fact that he announced those Supreme Court reforms that came from a similar commission.
Look, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, who we had an opportunity, the president had an opportunity to go to Houston earlier this week to meet with her family, to offer up his condolences in person, and you saw the statement that he put out after we learned of her passing. She was a hero. She was beloved, obviously, by the people in Texas and Houston and the community that she represented, but also beyond that. Certainly her colleagues in the Congressional Black Caucus and in Congress more broadly. And we lift her up and we honor her, not just through legislative action, but obviously honor the work that she has been able to do and what she has meant to so many. As far as the commission, the president has not changed where he is. He wants to see, he believes there should be a commission, and he does believe it should be a legislative process. Obviously, we think it's important. We want to help in any way to get that legislation done, but I just don't have anything else to add beyond that.
Thank you, Karine. Can you talk about the support from Turkey this morning? In the briefing, Jake Sullivan mentioned that Turkey provided logistical support, but what we're hearing now is that they are coordinating the exchange. Is that an accurate description? And also, did the U.S. give the Turkish government anything in return for their support?
So look, this was a big effort, as I mentioned before, and I was answering a question from one of your colleagues. It took our partners and allies to get this done, and we appreciate every effort that was done by them. Obviously, I think Jake was also asked if there was a phone call made recently to Erdogan. Obviously, I don't have anything to read out at this time, but it was, and they did offer technical support, as you know. I don't have anything beyond that to share, but we are very grateful for the role that they have been able to play to get Americans home today. And so I just don't have anything beyond of what we've already been able to share.
Give us an update on American journalist Austin Tice that's held in Syria. And also just beyond that, I mean, obviously our network, we're very grateful and relieved that Alsu is freed. But there are other journalists in our network and who may not be Americans. You know, we have colleagues held in Belarus, in Russian-occupied Crimea, in Myanmar, families of Uyghur journalists held by China. Again, these are not American journalists, but would the White House be able to say a position on their team?
So look, I'm not going to go by person and take a position, but the president's been very clear on the importance of the freedom of the press, of the importance of journalists being allowed to do the work that they should be doing, right? Being able to report and see, what is happening on the ground wherever they are and reporting and making sure they are freely able to do that. And the president has those tough conversations with leaders that he meets privately, and we've been very clear publicly about supporting journalists and the work that they do and being able to do that work freely and not be intimidated and without violence. And so that's something that we're going to continue to be very, very clear about. You just listed out a bunch of names. I don't want to go point by point on these names, but more broadly, we believe in the freedom of the press. This is important to us. We believe it's part of our democracy, and we want to see, not just here, it's important to see that obviously across the world.
Austin Tice.
I don't have anything specific for you at this time. When it comes to Americans being unjustly held, wrongfully detained, as you have seen from this president in the last 3.5 years, he's going to do everything that he can. I think today is a perfect example. Bringing home 70 Americans over the last 3.5 years is a perfect example of this president being committed to bringing home Americans who have been unjustly held. I think I'm going to have to wrap it up pretty soon. Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Karine. When the president announced 2 Sundays ago that he's withdrawing from the race, that he's not running for another term, there were some that described him as a lame duck president. How does this news today, this joyous news at the White House, answer those critics describing President Biden in that fashion?
Well, I'm glad you call it joyous news, because it is. This is very, very good news. For all of us as Americans, we should be very proud of this moment. Look, I've heard the term lame duck. I was asked at the podium if he is a lame duck president. We've been very clear that he's not, and today is an example of that. What he did on Monday, talking about SCOTUS reform, is an example of that. The president is determined, and he is very focused, along with the vice president, to get things done, to build on the accomplishments that we have been able to deliver for the American people over the last 3.5 years. And these are historic accomplishments, whether it's the American Rescue Plan that turned the economy around, restarted the economy. Now we're leading in the world on that. Again, no Republicans voted for the American Rescue Plan. You think about the Inflation Reduction Act, no Republican voted for that, and that is a piece of legislation that has seen the biggest investment in climate change. Medicare can actually go negotiate with Big Pharma, something that elected officials have been trying to do, and he reached across the aisle
do anything
to
to Big
get
Pharma.
Infrastructure done.
He dropped prices down of insulin to $35, which is great. That's it.
The PACT Act
and
done.
maybe inhalers.
So it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there for him. He wants to see a lot of these important laws now. He wants us to get them, make sure they're implemented. And we're going to continue to use the remainder of this term to look for ways to build on that progress. And we will certainly share with you the specifics of that.
Our country's falling apart.
Certainly as we continue these next 6 months.
And secondly, yesterday I asked a series of questions to you about the possibility of a hostage deal. At the time that I asked you those questions, were you aware?
Yes.
You were. You were
Yes.
aware. And so, given that you just didn't want to answer that truthfully, you didn't want to despoil the process of the
I said I had
transfer of
nothing.
hostages.
I said I had nothing to share. You have to understand. You have to understand. This is a critical. As these things are moving, it is important. Our main focus is to make sure that we get these Americans home safely. I would hope, as a journalist, you understand that. It is important that they get home safely. That is our number one priority. Number one priority. And now that they are on their way home, the families were here. The families, the president, the vice president will get to greet these Americans when they land here tonight. This is a huge, huge, monumentous day, emotional day. And it is important. That is our goal, to make sure that they get home safely. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Like I said, when I saw that these two people were going to be set free, I immediately, this was at like 5:45 in the morning, my next step was going directly to the White House page that you see right here. And, oop, messed that up. And see if they're going to do a White House press briefing, because I was like, there's no way they're not going to have one today. I mean, they would sit there and move heaven and earth to make sure that they got this out to people, because they don't have much good news to share with anybody, right? I think a part of it was, yes, they are excited because you have Americans back, right? And they're going to get to see their families. I don't think anybody discredits that. That's amazing news, and that's great. I think a part of it was the teary-eyed because of that amount of work that probably did go into it, and getting those people back and talking to their families. I mean, that would have an effect on anybody. But I think a part of it, too, is that they're just stoked to finally have some good news in this administration, which has not really been much in the 3.5 years. So we knew they were going to capitalize on this moment. And like I said, my eyebrows do raise up a little bit, where I find it odd that we're 95 days out from an election, and all of a sudden they pull this one off. But to do it, you had to work with Germany. So my question is not only what did the U.S. give up, because you heard from Jackie Heinrich's question that we didn't give up any money and sanctions, But it's a very loosey-goosey question, because the other question should have been, did the U.S., Germany, or anybody involved in these negotiations give up money or sanctions, right? So she only left it up to the United States. And I feel like these reporters, and I'm not hounding Jackie because there's everybody in this room, I don't think that they ask these questions in a way that traps the individual to basically answer their question. In case in point, that one, because Germany could have been given a bunch of money, right? So we could have sat there and already had a certain amount of money already invested in something within Germany, and Germany handed that money over to, say, Russia or whoever in this negotiation. We don't know what took place. And it's funny because they always say, oh, conspiracy theories, oh, spreading this or that. It's like, well, you could just give us the information of what we released. So we know we released people. How crazy were these people that we released? And, how'd this go down? But they don't want to do that. They want to cover up and then say, oh, it's Republicans' fault, We'll talk about, can we just, look, hey, we all just watch this together. Can I show you guys something really quick, please? Can I just show you the difference between how the press treats the Biden administration versus how the press treats our president, Donald Trump? I mean, it's just such a massive difference between the two.
You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
It's just amazing. Again, we just watched an hour-long press briefing together. Did a single reporter ask a question that was remotely similar to that one? And I'm not talking about the race thing. I'm just talking about any sort of confrontational question to Karine Jean-Pierre. Not a single person in that room. And this is where you slowly start even seeing me flip on the media myself. I have connections in that room. We've been open about that. But those connections aren't going to be very friendly to me if they don't sit there and start asking questions in the same way if ABC is going to pull this shit on Donald Trump to Karine Jean-Pierre and Joe Biden. If I start seeing that, then no longer do I want to have communication with people. And I'm not saying the connections that I have are doing this, but I want to see other reporters in that room start acting the same way this ABC reporter is, in the same way that our two-tier justice system should start going after people at the same level they're going after Donald Trump. But you don't see that. So you're going to see the media pull the same charade they are here. You're giving softball questions. Oh, well, Donald Trump said this about Joe Biden, that he couldn't get it done. What do you have to say about that now that Joe Biden got it done? Like, you see these layup of a questions. Oh, well, I'm so glad you asked that question. Clearly, he can get it done. Look what he's doing for the country. Look what he's done for this. Look what Republicans aren't doing. You see how they lay up all this stuff? And we said it was going to happen. We called it out 2-3 weeks ago, at least, that this is what the media was going to do. And it's only going to get more prolific. It's only going to get worse the next 100 days. You thought that ABC lady was crazy. Wait till you see more of this stuff coming out. And by the way, the whole room, not a single question of why Kamala Harris hasn't had a press briefing. Where's Kamala Harris? Why is Kamala Harris not doing things like this? Why was there no question Kamala Harris not showing up for black people, yet she's going to rant and rave about black people? It's so insane to me. And like I said, Democrats sit there and they are not able to sit there and actually assimilate this stuff. It really is a remarkable thing. You almost want to, and you wish this could happen. You really wish this could happen. That there was a Democrat that was willing to sit down with you and like you just show them side by sides and you go, I'll show you one right now. Shit, why not? We already had it up earlier. Just show them a side by side. AP 2016, Kamala Harris becomes first Indian American U.S. Senator. And then just yesterday, Donald Trump falsely suggested Kamala Harris had misled voters about her race. I mean, folks, we've done this for 3 years. I'm not saying Republicans haven't done it. I'm not saying Donald Trump hasn't said stupid stuff. I've been saying he has said stupid stuff for years. I've always said, get off Twitter and zip it. Don't say anything. Kamala Harris isn't going to sit there and take questions from anybody. Not one question. Why would she? We said this today. It was echoed by Fox News. We said it last week, again, echoed by Jesse Waters of Fox News, this morning going, why would she take an interview? Why would she sit there and go up and take hardball questions? Why would she have to? When you have the entire media at your disposal to sit there and run nothing but propaganda for you and actually work with big tech like Google, like Meta, to suppress positive information about Donald Trump and only uplift information about Kamala Harris and suppress her negative information, why in God's green earth would you ever go out and do an interview? You have to take these hardball questions. You know what I mean? It makes sense why she's sitting there behind closed doors. It makes sense why Joe Biden was doing that. He's not capable of answering hardball questions. He's not capable of doing anything. And then we're supposed to believe, oh, yeah, it's been really monumental occasion with him taking phone calls from people and answering their questions and handling this whole ordeal. And then you love how that whole thing, well, Kamala was in Germany and she talked to the chancellor probably about her menu of what she wanted for lunch. That was pretty much it. But because she was there, you guys, she's connected to all this. Because she just so happened to be in the country at the same time, probably didn't talk to a damn soul. She's all connected. They're partners in this. She really actually is the one that saved them. She's the one that's probably flying the plane right now on their way over to the America. So it's just, and like I said, just Democrats, oh, this is great. Kamala saved them. I was watching a guy's podcast today and he said she was flying the plane and that she was actually going to land it at Andrews. Yeah, no, yeah, it's crazy. She's flying the plane. Yeah. She probably flew to South America too and talked to Honduras and El Salvador. Yeah, she's done all sorts of stuff. She can fucking levitate like these people. It sounds bad because it's like I'm calling my fellow Americans idiots. When it comes to certain things in politics, absolutely. Look, there's Republican idiots too. There's conservatives that are idiots. I'm an idiot. Like, at least I'm willing to acknowledge it, but I'm also able to look at two things and go, this is bullshit. This is manipulation. This is misinformation. This is disinformation. By the way, I could see that from Republicans and conservatives. Democrats, for some ungodly reason, you saw Michael Malice talk about this on Joe Rogan's podcast. We cover it today. There's no thought in their damn head. It is a remarkable thing. We have proof of this. There's no thought in their head. You had these psychos on the college campuses sitting there protesting Israel in favor of Hamas, and they're pro-Palestinian. And so they're on college campuses that have restaurants, by the way, that have food facilities. And if you go off campus, guess what? You run into McDonald's and Jack in the Box and Carl's Jr. and shit. And they're sitting there asking for humanitarian aid on college campuses, all the while the people in Palestine and Gaza actually don't have water and food. There's a famine going on. And these nut jobs on college campuses are asking for food and water, all the while the people that actually need the food and water are across the globe. There's no thought process. And these people are going to Columbia. They're going to UCLA. Talk about not wanting to brag about going to an Ivy League anymore. If somebody goes, oh, I went to Harvard. I don't give a shit. You see the people? Look at Karine Jean-Pierre. She went to Columbia. That ain't saying much. I'm a Harvard graduate. Doesn't mean anything anymore. I'll tell you that much. I went to Columbia and NYU. Sick. I see the people on your campuses. They're idiots. That is not something to be bragging about anymore. I'll tell you that much. Holy Lord, a little bit of a rant, but damn. So make sure, folks, you try to sit there. Whoever's channel you do watch, right? I totally appreciate all the regulars. You guys come over and hang out with us each and every morning. We have a podcast. If you're new to the show, this is not our normal show. We just kind of go live every now and then over summer break while we can. But we're going to go live at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time starting Monday. Whoever's channel you guys watch, make sure you support them. Try to give them that like, that hit on the like button, blow up their chat and stuff like that, especially if it's a conservative Republican, because we need to get this stuff out there. We really only have Rumble and Twitter. I'm going to show you guys something, and I wasn't going to do this, but I just want to show you how bad some of this stuff is getting suppressed here for us, okay? So Rumble, we just hit over 800 followers. Thank you. We're trying to grow over there. And then YouTube, we have almost 63,000. We're only like 67 subscribers away from hitting 63,000. I want to show you something here, okay? This is real. This might seem like it's a joke, but it's not. I want to show you this right here. Okay, this is from my point of view. You guys rarely ever actually see this, so I'm showing you something a little bit behind the scenes here. Okay, this is the video that I released yesterday. Okay, it's between Josh Hawley and the Secret Service director. Okay, I use the same titles, the same information as like Forbes does, that gets like 250,000 views on their videos and stuff like that. Okay. I use the same tags. Folks, this was yesterday. Okay. Do you guys see how many views that is since yesterday at 10 a.m.? 116. With 63,000 followers. Look, maybe the video's dog shit. It's just us watching Josh Hawley versus Secret Service Director. Kind of weird. Look, even if it was a shitty video, you would still expect something a little bit more, right? That's all I'm saying. Did anybody in here actually get notified about this? Be God honest truth. Even if you didn't watch it, were you notified that this video went out? Let's do a poll. I want to do a poll because the math ain't mathin'. Let's start a poll. Were you notified about yesterday's video? There we go. We'll just start a poll. We'll just see because we got a lot of members in here. And it's okay if you didn't watch it. That's not what I'm talking about here. I just want to see if you guys were notified because there's some fuckery going on here. Because we have more views over at Rumble, and I'm not exaggerating this one bit. We legitimately have more views over at Rumble with 800 followers that we do with 63,000. That's not a joke. There's actually almost more people watching over at Rumble right now than YouTube, believe it or not. And generally, that's the case. So 75% say no, 25% said yes. We got 8% votes. Now, again, I'm not saying my stuff is great. That is not what I'm saying, and please don't feel like I'm complaining about views. The complaint here is access to allow people to watch the videos. That's the complaint. If I had one viewer, that's fine. But all I'm saying is the math ain't math, and that's the part I want to get to here. Please don't feel like it's, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's clear suppression going on that we're seeing from Facebook, we're seeing from Meta, we're seeing from Google, we're seeing from YouTube, which is the alphabet. And, it doesn't make sense to anybody. Mind you, I'm a statistics person. The odds of that not getting out is a little weird to me, especially when I used all the same information as somebody that gets 250,000 views. So the math ain't mathin', a little weird, doesn't make sense. But that's why we're growing on Rumble, you guys. Really, if you could, if you're over at, let's do it here. If you could, I'm trying to basically say screw YouTube. If you can go over to Rumble and just hit the follow button, it's free. You don't have to join. The join tab is for like if you want to pay money and subscription. The follow is absolutely free. It's like a subscription. Go over there and toss us a follow and try to watch us on Rumble. I really want to try to get away from YouTube and all their shenanigans and bullshit that you guys deal with and I deal with. So I'm trying to give Rumble the views. And that's why sometimes when you guys hear me shout out people's names and you don't see them in the chat, that's because they're over in the Rumble chat. I would rather you guys watch over there if possible. I understand you're familiar with YouTube and stuff, but like some people like Pat will be over on Rumble and YouTube at the same time, but I'd rather us give our love to Rumble because they're actually for free speech. And I'm gonna say it right now, fuck YouTube. YouTube is trash. They are. I've seen the analytics, I've ran the data, they are absolute trash. So we'll leave it at that. Head over to Rumble. I'll keep it up just for a little bit because I want to see if you guys will go over there and toss us a follow. It would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to hit 1,000. But like I said, I think there's more prosperity and movement over at Rumble than there is at YouTube. YouTube, it's just rough, man. That place is freaking a hellhole. I'll try again at Bruce. Thanks. Lulu said I had to look your channel up a few times lately. Me too. So I will sit there and I'll create a fake YouTube channel, like not a YouTube channel, but a fake like user. You know what I mean? Like I'll create a whole new email. My name doesn't even, like if you search Bald Brad in some cases, it actually doesn't even come up. You have to actually look for it. So, I don't know how many Bald Brad channels have 63,000 followers, but hey, that's beside the point. Yeah, even on those channels, it actually doesn't get notified. I'll even go as far as to say sometimes I'll upload a video and I'll be logged in under my own channel and my own video doesn't come up. I would have to go into content in my like behind the scenes stuff, and I'd have to find my channel that way. So there's been videos where I've uploaded that actually don't even come up for me in my own feed, and I'm the owner. So Like, I have never shared that part with you guys. I haven't shared a lot of stuff with you guys that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of stuff. It just seems like I'm complaining about views. There's a lot of shady shit that goes on behind the scenes. Your guys' emails, your comments, you getting deleted, unsubscribed, all that stuff is pretty crazy. YouTube is in the trenches. Fight. Absolutely, Bruce. Like I said, guys, please head over to Rumble. And mind you guys, it's Rumble that's sponsoring us, just to let you know, not YouTube. YouTube's never reached out about sponsors. Rumble, that's why we love Dylan here. Dylan's the one over at Rumble that reached out to me. Dylan sat there and said, hey, we would love to support you. Dylan is a fan of the show. He works for Rumble, and he sees like all the followers, yeah, we have on YouTube, but he actually sees a vision, the same vision that I have of the channel growing. And he wants us over at Rumble so it can, right, brings traffic over to Rumble, makes them grow. Rumble's the one that's given us the 1775 coffee sponsor. They're the ones that allows us to sponsor their merch and all these things. Those ad reads come from Rumble. YouTube hasn't done shit for me. YouTube's been making my life miserable. I can't even get help over at YouTube. So Rumble's great. Yeah, but you know what? Rumble acts up, but look, they're trying to grow. They're going to come out with a refresher, Jason, soon. And even though it might be a little bit laggy, look, they're more than willing to sit down and meet with me in person, face to face, than YouTube. So they got my love, man. They got my love right now. D Live is okay. Like, everyone's over at Rumble now. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. Hey, okay. I see y'all over there. I see y'all. Ziggy's new, by the way. Give him a shout out to Ziggy. Ziggy's new. Brad, have you checked out the Foxhole? Lots of content there as well. I have not checked out Foxhole. I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard of that before. Brad, this is our. Hey, what's going on, Margie? Okay. Shepard. I see all of you now. Now I got to learn everybody's new names over at Rumble, but that's okay. Stacy, good afternoon, everyone. Stacy, we're about to end here. We just got to the end, but it's good seeing you, Stacy. Long-time follower. Greatly appreciated. Robert's here. I'm going to have to check it out. Paul says, yeah, man, that's times the station lags too. Yeah, it's going to lag, but they're trying their best to make it and improve it. You know what I mean? It's basically like YouTube was in the early days. You know, they have their issues, but the thing is, you need to have those issues in order to figure it out, right? Like, you have to be able to have that issue to fix it and make things better. So the nice thing is we're getting in, I guess YouTube's not new, or Rumble's not new, but Danielle here, what's us to watch here instead of YouTube? What's here want us to watch here instead of YouTube? There's a lot of conservative Republicans on Rumble. I mean, majority of the stations are. Rumble is going to launch a new, not platform. They're going to update their platform here soon. That came from the CEO of Rumble recently. So they're going to push more VODs, and I can actually notify you guys specifically. I push a button, I'll be able to notify you guys when I go live or upload a video. So if you want my content, go over to Rumble and follow me there, because you're going to specifically be notified by me. I'm personally going to actually press the button whenever I upload something or go live. So you'll definitely know. Okay, switch to Rumble from YouTube. Thank you, Gavin. I appreciate it. If it's laggy, you know, we'll figure it out. But you don't need to be sorry that you're late, Stacy. We're just glad to have you here anyways. By the way, Patriotic Troll, absolutely hilarious guy. Just want to shout that out. I have no idea who you are, man, but yo, you get me rolling, dude. Also, I want to point out too, Rumble doesn't take 30% of our earnings like YouTube does. Rumble takes, I think it's like 10, 15, I could be wrong, somewhere in that realm. And lastly, I'm going to do that. I feel like I'm just freaking, I feel like what is it? Not a panhandler. What is it? Like the, what's it called when a person is just asking for money? That's not what I'm trying to do. But for those that are curious, Lily B and others took, especially Karen Catmom used this function. So on my website, if you're interested, please don't feel like you have to do this. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Please don't feel like you have to. Thank you, Gavin, for joining us. This is just there for those who want. This right here, if you donate through here rather than YouTube or Rumble, this donation goes directly to me, and you just put in your information here, like you're buying something, and then I get 98% of it. So that's the best that you could do, would be going through my website to donate. Karen gave a big donation, which we greatly appreciate. She's in the chat there, Karen Catmom. Thank you so much. She utilized that function, and I think it was a pretty easy function, right, Karen? I don't think it gave you too much trouble, and I immediately got it in my email, and I couldn't be more than appreciative. And by the way, if you go that route, I'll still give you a shout out in the live show. So it's not like you'll be, I don't know what the term is, in the shadows, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, I see y'all over at Rumble. Thank you for joining us over here. Where's Gavin at? Is Gavin? Oh, there's Gavin. Okay, I switched there. I see you. Yeah, in the chat, to be quite frank, you guys, you're not going to be banned off Rumble. I've seen some of the stuff you guys, like Dizzy. Dizzy's not here right now, but Dizzy says some crazy shit on the Rumble chat. So if you want to go over there, at least you know you're going to be safe. Lisa, hey, BB, I joined today, but when I first went to your site, it showed me as unsubscribed. Really? See, there you go. There you go. You know what? Let's spotlight that right now. So we know we ain't making this up. Here's Lisa right there in the chat. I got it kind of highlighted for you. It says, hey, BB, I joined today, but when I first went to your site, it showed me as unsubscribed. By the way, Lisa isn't new to the show. She's been here for a long time. Really weird. I've been watching. There you go. Watching for a while. Thanks for all you do. I know your guys' names. I've been here 3 years now with you. Some of you have been here since day one. And I get your emails. I see your comments. And yeah. People's like Andy, for example. Andy's my wife's friend and my friend. He wasn't even able to comment for like the longest time. He'd send me screenshots. I see what you guys do. Another patriotic show. Exactly right. Exactly right, sure. Exactly right. I don't get asked to censor myself here. Exactly. Yeah, you guys write some crazy stuff, man. As I've mentioned, you guys, sometimes I can't look at the chat because I laugh at everything. Oh, shoot. Who's still here? We got 46. All right, this is for the members, and just those that would like to join. Would you guys be interested in doing like a like we're doing here? You see how we're just hanging out? Would you guys be interested in doing like just chatting thing, like just chatting about politics? I know we kind of just do that on our normal thing, but I want to show you something here. If you go to Rumble, right? If you go to Rumble, you see this, and you go to say browse, and where is it at? See how they have this section called just chatting right here? Like we could pop in there, and there's only 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. We could come in here and probably blow this whole area up. Meaning we could take advantage of this and really use this area just to hang out as patriots and just kind of chat with one another. But I don't know if you guys would be interested in hanging out and doing something like that, you know? Like you guys surfing Twitter together. If we see something, we get spotlighted, or maybe you guys, you know, can say, hey, Brad, check this out. Let's watch this video together. More or less as a time just to hang out. I don't know if you guys would be interested in something like that. I would. Doing kind of late at night, just sporadically. And just do it just chatting, just hanging out as patriots. Just shooting this shit. Maybe venting a little bit. I'm down for it, Brad. Okay. Yeah, if you guys are down. That'd be dope. Look at that, 62%. I'd like to watch that one. Absolutely. Pat said pizza. Pizza sounds good. I don't know what that means. Maybe pizza and hanging out. There you go. Karen Catmom says, YouTube frequently unsubscribes me too. Did I ever share you guys the story about the initial conversation with YouTube that they didn't believe me? And rather than them doing their research, because, you know, they're just kind of a, you know, multi-billion-dollar company, they wanted me to know, I'm not even exaggerating, they wanted me to go through all my emails, look back in like 2.5 years of comments. I get 14,000 comments a month, by the way. Like, who the hell's going to research all that? And screenshot every single one of your usernames in conjunction with the comment and send them that as proof that what was happening was happening. And we all saw the last conversation. If you haven't seen that video's up. Where we showed the conversation between a YouTube specialist and he blamed it on you guys. Oh, well, they don't have their bell notification icon turned on. Yeah, but they're subscribed. Like, they should still be told that the video's up. Like, why the hell would you subscribe to a channel if you're not interested in watching the content? You know what I mean? So it's this video here. If you're curious. Let's copy that, paste that. If you're curious on that video, I'll post it here. You don't have to watch it now. That's me. And as you see, I go through the chat of the YouTube specialist, just so you know you have the receipts. We always show the receipts. It's funny how that video gets 1.7K, huh? That's weird. Maybe I should do more exposing YouTube videos. But we'll end it there. Thanks for listening to me, event. Knight says, get rid of YouTube. Absolutely. I can't believe Elon hasn't. I mean, Elon's trying to do streaming on Twitter, but that hasn't really been fleshed out much. We do stream over at Twitter too. We're literally live at Twitter on Twitter right now. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you can. I'm very active on there. So we got a few people watching over at Twitter. You should give us their contact info. We'll tell them ourselves, or at least I will. I think you can just go to the help thing and just report it. But I don't think they're going to do anything, man. They don't care. That's my I've had multiple chats with them, and they don't give two bleeps, man, about this channel. Like I said, when we initially spoke with Rumble, I think we had 300 followers, a little more than that when we spoke with Dylan like a couple weeks ago. And now we have 800. Yeah, YouTube doesn't care about their people. At least Rumble cares about their content creators. I'm sure Elon's working on something. Elon is yeah. But yeah, anyways, yeah, we'll do a just chatting then. Maybe for what's today? What is today? Thursday? Yeah, well, if I can, even going forward, even when I go back to work, mind you, I go back to work next week, you guys. That's why we're going to 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's freaking early. We will. I would like to do some just chattings and hang out as a community late at night, and maybe watch stuff that came out early in the day, right? So when I go back to work, there's going to be stuff that comes out. I would kind of like to hang out and watch that stuff with you guys and just be in just chatting and do that type of stuff. So I think that's what we'll move forward with doing and hanging out together as patriots. So. Follow us over at Rumble. Follow us on YouTube as well. And it's always great hanging out with you guys. We got a freaking awesome community here, man. We really do. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow, bright and early, for a Friday show. We'll see what happens with the news. Stay up to date with me, folks, and hit that like button. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow here on The Paul Brett Show. Take care, folks.